Hey guys, I'm just a fan. It's your host Ben, and today we're going to be talking about a topic that I've been thinking about the last week ish, and just wanted to make a video on it. So what we're going to be talking about today is the preseason overrated? And when I'm talking about the preseason, I'm specifically talking about quarterbacks. Let's get right into it. So for me, what made me think about this video was how the rookies did this weekend. For me, I've never been a big preseason guy. I think it can help see, okay, how is this guy doing? Like, how does he look, physically? Like, how are his mechanics? How is he throwing? What is he doing when he's going through his progressions? Like, how many receivers is he looking at? All that type of stuff. But it's very hard to really take into account, how serious is this? You're playing against second or third stringers. You're maybe playing 2 to 3 series max throughout the entire preseason, or within a couple games. It depends. You're not playing much, and you're also, you're getting play calls that are realistically are extremely vanilla, and they are going to be nothing like the actual plays that you see, when it comes to the regular season. And that goes for both offense and defense. Offense, it's usually very bare minimum, basic plays. Defense, it's very basic covers. It's not going to be anything crazy and stuff that's going to disguise. It's very basic stuff, and that's what's made me really have a hard time of, really kind of using that information, being like, okay, does this mean anything heading into the regular season? Now, when we look at this last week, the three rookie quarterbacks that started were Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, and Jaden Daniels. Drake May didn't start because they are going with Brissett for right now. I will mention him later, but we're going to mostly focus on those three. So first, let's get right into Caleb Williams. Williams, to put it lightly, struggled against the Tennessee Titans. Really was struggling to get a rhythm going. There wasn't much there. From what I saw from watching the game, was really struggling within the pocket. There were times he ran out of the pocket, tried to extend the play like he did in college or the preseason, and he ended up taking a sack. He also just didn't look very good in general. Just overall looked uncomfortable, which again is expected. It's week one. That type of stuff happens. But when we go into his actual stats, I mean, look at this. It's 48.3% completion percentage for passing, 93 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks, 55.7 passer rating. That is atrocious. Atrocious. And again, it's week one. I'm not overreacting. This is more about preseason than Caleb Williams. I'm very, I'm very positive for Caleb Williams. I think he's going to do very well going forward. Again, this is more a video about preseason. But judging off of this, I just feel like when it comes to him, when you watch the preseason, it's not that he necessarily had insane stat lines, but you saw him extending plays. You saw him throwing down the field with confidence. You saw that type of stuff. He was wowing us. But my thing relating it back to preseason again is just how much can I really take stock into that? Because again, those were against second or third stringers. So obviously no wonder he's going to struggle against first stringers. And again, that's just relating it back to this whole video, is like, how much really can I take stock into that? Now we're going to jump into Bo Nix. He started this weekend against the Seattle Seahawks. Tough place to play in Seattle. So there's, I'll give him a little bit of, a grain of salt there, like on his performance. Like, obviously it's a harder place to play in Seattle. But when you look at his stat line here, let's take a look at it right now. 61.9% completion. So that's already not too good. 138 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks, and that was also on, I think, 34 or 35 throws. I can't see it now, but I know he did not do very well when it came to that. Excuse me, it wasn't that. I'll put the stats up here now. Yeah, 26 for 42 for an average of 3.3 yards per throw. That is terrible. I saw a statistic saying that he's like only the third quarterback ever to do something like that. Obviously, he struggled. But when you go look at the preseason and really see what he did, it was almost like it was night and day. Bo Nix was getting so much hype out of the preseason, and I was happy for him. But when you look at some of his stats, when you go to the preseason, I mean, like I said, it was complete night and day. Bo Nix, 15 for 21, 125 yards, 1 touchdown against the Colts. When you look at his game against the Packers, he went 8 for 80 yards, and 1 touchdown. Obviously, again, just very, very different, results when it goes from the preseason and when it goes to the regular season. Now taking a look at Jaden Daniels, it was kind of the same thing. He had a decent preseason. I looked at his statistics. I watched a little bit of him as well. I'm not saying he looked bad. I'm not saying he looked great. It was nothing wowing, but there was no way to be like, oh, Jaden Daniels is lighting it up right now in preseason, or he looks terrible in preseason. But when you go to his most recent week against Tampa, I watched that game. I don't think he looked bad. I'm not saying I think he looked bad, but a lot of the stuff he did was in garbage time when they were down by like 20 points. His statistics were 17 for 24, percentage of 70.8, 184 yards, and he took 2 sacks, had a little bit rushing. Oh yeah, 16 carries, 88 yards. So it's like, again, what can I really make of this? And it's also just the fact that he did most of that in garbage time. So my whole point of this is just being like, look, like, again, how much can I really take seriously in preseason? Even when we look here now at Drake May, he didn't even start, but when you can look at his stats against the Commanders, 13 for 20, 126 yards, and 1 touchdown. I'm assuming if Drake May played this weekend against the Bengals, now obviously this is an assumption, I'm assuming he would not be putting up stat lines like that. So it's just a question I kind of have for the audience, and I'm just like, how much can I really put stock into preseason? I think going forward for myself, I just don't think I can really take it seriously for any young quarterback, specifically the rookies coming in, especially if they're going to start. It's just harder for me to really be like, wow, this is going to be like the end all be all, like, oh my gosh, he cooked in preseason, he's going to cook in the regular season. I think, again, preseason is a good way to say, okay, what are his mechanics like? How is he doing when he's, reading the field? How is he doing when, there is some adversity? Is he going to, is he getting rid of bad habits like scrambling when he only has one read and he doesn't like what he sees? Stuff like that. I think that can help. But when you have these inflated stats like the May one or Bo Nix, I just think going forward, there's no way I can honestly put a ton of stock into these games because they're playing against, like I said, second, third stringers, and they are going against very, very conservative play calling on both ends. So it's just hard for me to kind of take it seriously going forward. I still think preseason I don't think it's a bad thing. Definitely helps a lot of people out for the matchups and all that stuff like that, specifically other positions that aren't quarterback. But going forward, there's just absolutely no way I can take this seriously. So just curious on what you guys thought about it. Let me know. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you like sports content, subscribe. And like I said, if you have any thoughts on the preseason and how these quarterbacks have done so far, just drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. And yeah, I will see you guys soon on the next video. And I appreciate you guys watching to this point. Peace, guys.